guys, and welcome to part 2 of making hand Puffy paws. Now part 2 doesn't involve claws. If you do want to put claws in your hand paws, it is a very tricky part and I will do a separate video, but basically just get your fabric that you want to use for the claws, make sure it's going the right direction. Put right sides together, place your pattern piece on, draw around the claw, then put it through the sewing machine, drawing around the outer edge but not the connection line. When you sew, you want to sew around this line all the way down to here, remembering to back stitch. You don't want to sew this bit just yet because you want to stuff the claws. Once you've done that, you can cut it out, cut around the edge as close as you can but without cutting the thread, so literally like a millimeter away. Then you want to turn it inside out, and the right side should be on the right side now. Use a small tool with a non-sharp edge, for example the end of this seam ripper, to poke out the end of the claw. This part. Then you want to put polyfill in, or you can use shaved down fur, whichever one you have there. Then after that you can hand sew this bit closed. This will make it easier when putting it in. Then to put in the claws, you just want to basically have the fur right side up first and put the claw on so you know which direction. Then when you turn it round, the claw should go like that. Then you want to basically, in the crevice bit, put your claw in all the way to the back and bring the fur round so it looks like this. Then you want to pin it just slightly so you can sew it easily. Then you want to sew just under the hand sewing you did on the top here. This you want to go all the way around, and you might want to do this twice because when you then pull it the right way around and it's like this, you don't have bits of the paw coming out because you've missed some of it. So paw, claw. So that's how you do the claws. But for this person's commission, actually this is one of the winners for the giveaway that I did. Her paws don't have claws on them, which I'm very grateful for because the claw part can be very tedious and slightly difficult and annoying. So I will do a separate video going in as much detail and as much visual as I can. So starting from the last video, we have these pieces where we A-plack. First thing we're gonna do is get your paw base, 2 of the outer fingers, so inner fingers, yeah, 2 inner fingers, 2 outer fingers. You can use the pattern piece to measure because sometimes they all look the same size. And then you want to just line it up so you know which piece goes where. Here is what it should look like when you place it together. You want the big finger pieces in here and the smaller ones here. Take note of the edge that you put together because you don't want to put it so it's like that by mistake, because that's not right. You want to just go over it a couple of times and double. Then you're going to want to hand sew. You can actually machine sew this part, but I like to hand sew it because it keeps the size large and it's just easier to work with, I find. Making sure that right sides are together. So the right side of the fabric is the fabric you want to see on the outside, and you want to see the fur on the outside. So you're going to put these together, and you can clip or pin. I highly recommend clips over pins because it's very annoying when pins don't quite sit right and you stab yourself all the time, or at least I do. You want to sew from the inside down to the outside, because the outside bit normally has the thickest amount of fabric along the side. For example, with these, when we sew these on, it would be sewing from here down to here, because this part is thicker than this part. This is because sometimes when you sew it on, you have a little bit left at the end, because you only want to sew to the edges of these bits. And it's okay to have a little bit left at the end, because you can just trim those off, but that's why we sew from the smallest bit to the thickest bit, because the thickest bit can just be trimmed really nicely. Now that you have sewn the 4 fingers on, these should look a little like that. Now here comes the fun part. You can stuff the paw pads. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it because it makes it extra poofy and it gives it a bit more definition. So what you'll need to do is have a small pair of scissors, which mine are downstairs, so I'm going to use a seam ripper, and with the backing here you are going to go in the middle of it, and you're just going to cut, preferably with scissors, a line. You don't want it too close to the edges because, well, you just don't. Because it makes it harder to put the stuffing in there. And you want to do this with all the fingers, including the pad.
Okay, so I'm not sure what stitch we use, but you basically push it through.
This is what it looks like compared
both
to
pieces of your fabric, and then you twist it round
and this
and
is what
you
it looks
pull it
like from the
through.
back.
This
Don't worry when you
creates
set
a
up,
really
it should
secure
go
knot,
back to
meaning you
its
don't have to
usual
do it
shape.
twice.
So, stuff all of them and then sew them. Let's do it. Okay, here's the next step. You are going to need both your paws that you have stuffed and sewn, and you're going to need the bottom wrist piece, so the square pieces with long fur. You want to keep the fur long, but if you need to trim it because it's too long, then go ahead and do that now before you sew it, because it will just be a lot easier. Take note of the fur direction, even for this bit, as well as when you cut it out. And you want the fur direction to be going up. So this is what it would, so that way. Fur going down with the hand pointing down, basically. Then you want to turn this round so you can see the back, and then you fold it down, putting right sides together. This ensures that you have the fur in the correct direction, and you can now pin it because we're going to be sewing this piece together. You don't want the fur sticking out, you want as much of it in the outside part, if that makes sense. Let's sew together. I'm using the same stitch all the way around. I pretty much use this stitch for everything that I make because it creates a knot and it locks everything in. Saves you having to go over it twice. Okay, so once that has been sewn on both pairs, you're now going to want your shaved down top finger pieces. So this goes onto the top and then it creates a curve. This one doesn't have the claw in, so we're just going to place it right sides together, the notches, and bring in all the fur in. You're gonna wanna clip it and turn it round. You can do this with a sewing machine, but because it's curved, it will probably just be easier and a lot quicker to hand sew this bit. I hand sew most of it anyway. The only part that I use the sewing machine for is the claw pads and creating the claws themselves. Okay, so now that all of the finger pieces are sewn, if you have claws, you'll be able to see. So when you'd sewn them, it would look like this, just pop it the other way around, and now you have the curve for your finger. Okay, now I like to put outer and inner on them because when they're curved like this, you can't tell very well which ones are bigger than the smaller ones. Now get 2 inner ones in front of you and 2 outer ones. Make sure they're the angle's going in the correct direction. Then you're going to want your big piece of long fur. You're gonna place that down in front of you also, and just like the hands, we're just gonna kind of place them down. If it has at the end a tiny bit excess on one side, don't worry about it, we will trim these, but we're going to trim them after we've sewn them. What it should look like. Let's sew these pieces.
I love you.
Okay, so for this next bit we're going to be connecting the 2 pieces. Now you want them right sides together. This is the top piece and the lower piece we have finally put together. And you're going to connect these, the finger corners, you're going to line them up on both sides, and you can pin this and keep it there, and then you're just going to sew all the way around the fingers and along the sides. Yeah. Okay, so this is what it should look like. Don't worry about the excess at the bottom. We will chop this off at the end. Well, almost at the end. I'll tell you when, don't worry. Now, the lining I've already made, it's very easy, just follow around the pattern piece. You want to have this right sides together when you're stitching it. And you want to follow the edges on the edge of the hand pull fabric as you go round, using the seam you already have around the hands as your guide to sew on the lining. And you do this all the way around.
Okay, so now that the lining has been fully sewed down, you want to turn your paws back the right way round. This can be a little bit difficult, just take your time with it. Be careful. Okay, then you want to stuff the top of the paws going above the lining. So this will be the lining. Then you want to pull the lining down and use that opening to stuff the top part of the paws. Stuff them enough and then put them on your hand to see if you feel like they've got too much stuffing in or not enough stuffing. Voila! You have some extra poofy hand paws. Now you can just finish this off by sewing this bit shut, so, well, open I guess. So just place the lining along the edge all the way around and sew, and then give it a brush to pull out any fur. You can do the step that I do, and I basically sew all the way around here like I showed you. Like I just said, once you've sewn all the way around that, you add bias binding. Now you can make your own bias binding, or you can buy some. I like to use strips of the fabric used to make the lining for the bias binding. But what you basically want to do is get your fabric. You want to make sure you know which side is the right side. Then first you're going to put the right side against the paw, lining it up with the top edge, and you want to pin this all the way around the paw. Then the reason why we put it right sides on the fabric is because once you've sewn it, you're going to fold it up, and this will help give it a straight edge like this. So it doesn't have an edge that you've cut all frayed, it's got a folded edge. Then you fold it into the paws, inside the paws. So you have it on the outside, then folded into the inside. Then you sew around it again to basically close it up. And voila, you have officially completed your Puffy hand paws. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you want to see more, basically. And also feel free to comment and ask any kind of questions you would like. But yeah, bye!